was talking to one gentleman after our last May retreat, and through the group healing, he had a mystical experience, because I remember walking up to him and seeing him like his life was changed forever. And I asked him later, can you explain? And he felt all his ancestors coming in, and he saw their hands, and they all come in, and they were all sending him love through his heart. He was with the universe and with his ancestors, and all together. How can that not
change your life?
Change your life. Let shit get weird.
Because when shit gets weird, then you're beyond what you know. If you're beyond what you know, then anything is possible.
The episode you're about to watch has been republished. My podcast channel reaches a lot more people now, and there's certain episodes that have slipped under the radar, and I wanted to bring them up for your attention because I truly feel they are worth listening to. So please be sure to let me know what you think of this episode in the comments below. And of course, let's continue to connect. Let me know where you are in the world and where you're listening and tuning in from. I love reading it. It's amazing, isn't it, that we can do this? And the other thing I want to say as well is find out where we are if you want to put your spiritual boots on and come and join us at one of our 5-day retreats or one-day events around the world. Links are below as well if you want to find out more what we're up to. Much love from me. Enjoy.
Beautiful. We are recording. Welcome to the podcast. Matt, welcome back.
Thank you. I had to come all the way to the other side of the world in order to get on your podcast again.
I know.
How stingy you are these days.
Yes. We are in Portugal. And we are in Algeciras.
Oh, right. We're in Portugal.
We're in Portugal. Keep it at Portugal. We're in this beautiful Montevelo retreat center. We'll be actually starting this afternoon. And in true traditional style, we are recording a podcast just before we start. And today's topic we wanted to discuss was a little bit around mystical experiences. And the reason why is that Petra should be on the podcast right now, but she's actually in the room next door. We're in a Charlotte. We're trying to find the light because we didn't have a light to turn on. Anyway, another story. Hence why we got this amazing background. You got the most stunning view over there, and you got the most beautiful background behind us. Can you believe it? So they are doing testing next door. So it's the first time we've brought somebody in to actually start to measure the changes within the body. Mm-hmm. And he's worked with Norman. He's from the Hanover Institute, and he's worked with thousands of people, and one of his passions is actually measuring mystical experiences and the changes they have on the body. So hence why Petra's on the podcast. She's helping Norman right now. And the way we're measuring is through the brain, EEG. So it's a quantitative measure of neurofeedback. And it's amazing just talking to Norman last night. And interesting podcast as well. A recent one I did with Marty Schultz. Norman knew him. He's like, oh my God, the guy's a legend. One of the originals. Anyway, you can measure the changes from if somebody is anxious, depressed, in states of joy, love, bliss. Yeah. And ideally we want the default states to be of more peace, joy, love, and bliss. So we're measuring that, and the mystical experience can contribute a lot to that. Yeah.
We'll continue on. You said the EEG, and what other things are we measuring?
He will be measuring the nervous system. He's using something along with HRV. He was showing me the equipment yesterday, and we're also measuring GDV, which don't ask me to pronounce it because I asked him that, and he said, look, it's all in Russian, and there's a big long word about 25 letters long. Yeah. But that actually measures the electro field of the body, and within the organs and within the energy centers. And that's a fascinating
measures the energy centers too, right?
That's
energetic.
Right. The energetic centers. Yeah. So it measures the energetic body, and it can measure how aligned or disaligned you are, and pre and post retreat as well. So we got about a third of the participants doing that because we can only pump out 2 an hour. Oh, was that anyway? Notification. That's nice. My computer's never done that before. Anyway, let's keep going.
All right.
Mystical experiences, as we're waffling now.
That was almost mystical.
Yeah. How would you define mystical experience?
Well, for me, I think it comes back to the basis of the work that we do. We tend to identify reality with the information that comes through our 5 senses, right? Mm-hmm. So, and that information that comes through the 5 senses is often skewed and limited and colored by the experiences that we've had, especially the traumas and the challenges that we've endured through our life. So it becomes even more limited in the information that's coming through, or skewed. It's biased. It's biased information.
Very.
Very. We see that all the time, right? And so in all of that is a very limited view of what reality is. And that if we start to realize that we have the capacity to feel and experience life and consciousness beyond the five senses, then we start to lean into what I would call, or what I would classify as mystical. So beyond the five senses.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a proper definition, but that's the way that I look at it.
Yeah, totally. It's like, I remember when doing the BioGeometry fundamental course, and they spoke about absolute reality. So you got reality, which is totality, which is, we see it as truth. That is, you know, you could say it's the quantum field, you could say it's spirituality, God, whatever label you want to term on it, but there's total reality. Absolute reality. But then for us to experience reality, and if we are to get to know thyself and experience ourselves through physical reality, if you believe we are energetic beings in physical form, then that has to come to a point where we can actually experience the physical. And when we start to bring that into form, we're actually bringing it down. I mean, many quantum scientists on the podcast, but talk about less than 1% of totality that we can experience in any given moment. And so to experience that, we've got the nervous system that is a sender and receiver of information, allowing us to then create emotions, create hormones, create experiences through light, through touch, smell, taste, sight, and sound, right? But then, like you say, you've got the lens of our emotions and thoughts and our life experiences that is shaping the human condition from the day we are born, which is then filtering or coloring that lens, right? So, like you say, then for me, then if we start to look at that, how do we start to broaden? Oh, I've got an ant crawling off my computer. How do we start to broaden that bandwidth of reality and start to get beyond the known from what we see? But to do that, we need to surrender the mind to allow that in, and then we lean into possibility, right? Like your friend Justine always would say. What was the quote?
Which bit?
Once you're beyond
let shit get weird.
That's it. Let shit get weird.
Because when shit gets weird, then you're beyond what you know. If you're beyond what you know, then anything is possible.
Exactly.
That's the great way to look at it.
Yeah.
And the fact is that I forget what I was going to say. Go on.
Okay. But it's like, well, how do we start to see beyond? How do we start to experience from reality? And you know, I've had many experiences where my pineal gland has opened. So it's a small gland in the center of the brain. And it, you know, it's known as the third eye or the sixth chakra, whatever terminology you want to do. But what I found was, as I healed my own energy center, especially opening the heart first, once I opened the heart, I was able to then work through above and below, the three centers above and below, and really start to work through what the restrictions were in them in my life. But the pineal gland is fascinating, because I always remember interviewing Jeffrey Fanning many years ago, who studies neurofeedback and everything. And he's like, well, you see with your brain, not your eyes. Your eyes are the lens, and your actual brain interprets information. And they know that there's a lens on the pineal that we can then open up to, which is going beyond the five senses of which we normally receive reality in. And that's when we can start to open up sight, information, possibility that can come in, and then work through the body as well at the same time, but then allowing us to start to experience something beyond what we know. And that's when shit gets weird.
It does get weird. Well, it gets beyond the mind. So then it becomes unknown to the mind. It doesn't fit into the construct of the mind. Yeah. But that's what I was going to say, is that it's, you know, all for a long time, for millennia, this is something that has been documented. It's in many cultures and traditions around the world, is that they have ceremonies, they have rituals, they have things that they do that are embedded in their culture that are designed to take them to the mystical, designed to take them to source, to spirit, and that they actually then get the information from that. And it holds a very high space within the culture as to how they move through their lives, how they make choices, how they they develop, how they move the tribe, or, how they make decisions, how they live is based upon more of the mystical, and that they spend a lot of time and energy in their daily lives reconnecting and reimagining what is possible.
Exactly.
And with that, what's so exciting about now, and what you mentioned with Norman being here, is that we witness this all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And that, when we get the people together in these retreats, in the workshops, even online for that matter, because, we can come together beyond time and space. We don't have to actually physically be in a room. That we see the connection of the heart, and the connection then from the heart is the gateway into the soul, into the mystical, and that we're actually working with people to connect in that way, and it creates this synergy that opens people to these experiences. So we see it all the time. We see the true potential of what humanity has available to it. The sticking point then is that our world that we live in now is biased and based upon the subjective reality of the five senses. And it adheres strongly to the mind and discredits and disregards anything from the heart and soul. And so in order to then bridge that, this new technology
Mm-hmm.
that he's working with is the bridge. And then the world that we are living in that is adhering to the mind has data points and clear pictures to say, no, this isn't just a subjective mythical thing that you're making up. Like, it's a reality. You can see the same brainwave patterns that are happening in people that are going into those states. You can see the same energetic patterns that are happening to people going to these different experiences.
Yeah.
It's like, so that's what really excites me about it.
Totally. And there's a difference between believing and knowing. And I speak about that when the relationship of who we are, what our potential is, and experiencing total reality for a moment, or going beyond the five senses. Because I know that was for me. I was believing, I was reading books and going, yeah, that's possible. But there's still a element of my unconscious self, you could say the protective self, the ego, or however you want to frame it, that is clinging on to this, I am just physical, this is me kind of thing. And then when you go beyond that and have a knowing experience and actually bring that back in, you can't unwind that really. And then it shifts. And the beautiful thing listening to you speak then was that it then shifts our relationship to other people. We start to see other people beyond the veil of the mask of what we put forward, and protect, all these protective mechanisms we impose upon ourselves, and we start to get behind that and connect with the human in the soul, the heart and soul of the person. But also with Mother Earth and nature, and it starts to develop our relationship. And like you say, if this became common knowledge and common practices, and we started to have these experiences and reminders, because we all fall off grace, right? We all like stub our toe and start swearing and crack the shits and go back and then breathe out, calm down, come back.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, if only they knew what I witnessed with this man. Oh my God. So for me, it's like you're drinking from a rich well, this huge resource that we are actually part of, that we are. And as we nurture that, we can then actually adapt the body to allow more of that information to come through at any given time. So we start to develop our living experience day to day that's actually beyond just the five senses, if we continue to have a regular practice, which richens our relationship to everything around it. And we actually become more aware. We are developing our awareness, and we become more conscious beings. And there's nothing like having an experience where, your eyes are just like, holy moly, your hair stands up on end, and you're like, wow, they're life-changing moments. And like you said, we see it often. So can I ask you?
You were talking about that with the pineal gland opening. You have these things all the time, mate.
Dozens. I've lost count.
What,
Why?
What do you think? Well, why is that happening for you?
We might as well get into woo. I believe it's my teacher.
Yeah.
So if you start to believe, well, for me, it's knowing, but everyone's experience is subjective and we need to discover it for ourselves. Point taken. So don't take my word for it, please. But from my experiences that, I'm a facilitator right now, and we facilitate in whole space for retreats. There's been a part of me that's been a knowing for a long time that this is the direction I need to go. There's a reason why I sold out of my company and stepped into the unknown and just lent into my heart. And here we are in Portugal. You know, it's in flow, it's in creation, it's in flow with me, right?
Yeah.
So as those mystical experiences started to happen, I realized that if then I am only like a upside down iceberg energetically, that there's only 10% of me having a physical experience, and the larger expansive higher self, whatever you want to call it, consciousness is expanding out, then there's an element of me wanting to allow me to experience growth here on the physical. Right?
Okay. Yep.
You with me?
Yep.
Because if you're not, they're not.
No, I'm following. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So that means things start to occur and happen in our life to allow us to enrich our growth as a human being. So we need to feel that pressure and overcome our limitations and fears to grow and evolve our consciousness. So if I feel like I am on my path, I'm on my truth, this is what I'm destined to do, which I really believe it is, then what was happening was then things are starting to present to me for me to actually have to heal and overcome my limitations and fears about who myself are and who I am as a human, to earn the right to be able to hold space and teach for other people. So then that's when different mystical experience started to happen, because at first, if it's an unknown, what's the first thing I want to do? Shut it down. There's a fear. Well, why am I scared of that? Then I start to contemplate and explore the fear, and then they would arise again, and it allowed me to lean in as opposed to run away and go, actually, lean into love and surrender, because that's what we teach at the end of the day. So I feel like they make me walk my talk for that growth, in a long-winded answer, but to keep it grounded in this moment.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think we're always growing, evolving. It's fascinating to think that, we've talked about it a few times, that we're coming from this expansive consciousness, this soul, this true, what do you call it? The true reality?
Absolute reality.
Absolute reality.
Yeah.
And then we fragment off into this fractured vantage point of what is. And then we move and try and relate and live from that fractured stance.
Yes.
And then we take this journey to expand and to grow back into the vastness of what we are.
Going home. Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
It's full circle, isn't it?
Yes. So it is fascinating. And I think it's been good to talk about that, because it's very easy to just impose the Western mind upon all of this. And if you've never had these experiences, it's very easy to go, this is all horseshit. So if you're still listening, it's great, because now we can go into a bit more some of the experiences we've experienced or witnessed.
Yeah. We're just sitting here in this space, like we're on the top of this ridge, in the the rural area of Portugal. Like there's not a village for half an hour from here. Big village.
The small villages. You can get a coffee. That's all.
Get a coffee somewhere. But it's just quiet. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's peaceful.
It's peaceful. It's quiet. You can see the ocean in the distance there. And when I start to sit in this space, it takes me back to doing this work in the jungles of Peru and in the mountains of Santa Monica when I was, growing in that regard, learning breath work, learning sound work, learning all these different techniques. And it's like in the subtlety, it's in the silence that all that can start to emerge. It's like my mind can start to relax.
Yeah.
Because this is the stimulation of the everyday that then numbs out the space for the mystical
to happen.
Yeah.
So when was your belief system first challenged? When did you experience your first kind of mystical, experience?
Mm.
That is a great question.
It is a great question, but it's a windy road.
Well, you
For
know,
me, because
yeah.
huh?
You can just do footnotes, you know.
No, I know, but it's I don't know where to answer that from. It's just because you know, being a kid and leaning into psychedelics and stuff.
Oh,
Like
yeah,
you obviously got, because for me there was that whole kind of experience and wanting to break free from the everyday control of, you know, society and adults, and like, you know, wanting to have my freedom growing up as a teenager, right?
Yeah.
And not feeling like I fit in or whatever it was. And then so I had experiences through those spaces, but it was more of a recreational, more of a social thing, and it wasn't looked at as like a spiritual thing. And it wasn't until life pushed me in such a way that there was enough pain that then I started to reach for these things and heal that shame and guilt around those experiences and the abuse of those medicines.
Right.
And so it kind of like, that's why I struggled with that, because it was in working with plant medicines then and starting to open into that kind of work and breath work and the sound work and all these different things that opened into different understanding of what that all meant. So it's kind of been with me always. I've always had mystical happening. So I don't know how to answer that question.
Yeah. Well, what about when your mom come to you in a vision? Would you could define that as a mystical experience?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's I think because in when she died, there was a lot of grief around that and a lot of pain around that, and so I think that then allows for the expanse of my mind and allows space for a desire to want to get out of the pain.
Yeah,
you know, and it was just so much to handle, and so she came to me in a vision. And, you know, through in between sleep and awake, it's like you're in the hypnagogic space, and it's like, yeah, you're very lucid, and showed me colors and shapes and sounds that I can't even, like, you can't define with the five senses.
No.
And I didn't know what it was, didn't know what it meant, but it sent me on this journey. So it was like that moment, then the little boy in me reconnected with my mom and realized, well, she hasn't actually gone anywhere. Energetically, spiritually, her essence is still present in that divine consciousness of all it is, and that I have access to that. And then the journey started to move into, well, how do I get back to that? How do I meet this space? And so that really opened me up to exploring more deeply. What is it when we use these chemicals, when we use breath, when we use sound, when we use movement, when we use different practices, sweat lodges, ecstatic dance, fasting, vision quests, all these.
You've done a lot, eh?
Done a few things. And it's all to get back into that expanse. And the knowing, I think, because I find that I lose access to that knowing and can very easily link into the division that's here. And that's very disheartening for me to witness. So it's that constant practice of every day opening and finding ways to release the five senses and go into that altered state and that expanse where my mom is and where many other potentials are.
Yeah.
But I'll put it back on you. What is your first mystical experience?
Believe it or not, I dreamt about this last night, and
right.
weirdly, maybe it's preempting coming up on this podcast today. It was when I was about 5, and I had, I don't know if I ever told you this.
I don't know.
And I was I had a small bedroom in Wales, and I had a bunk bed. By this time, my sister was moved to the other room, and there was a street lamp. There was an orange street lamp just outside my house. So I always got comfort from this orange street lamp when I'd lay as a small child in bed, and I would leave the curtains open so to allow more of the orange street light in. I'll never forget it. My mum had these net curtains, to stop people from seeing in when you're in the zone. But the neck curtain had like this shape, like a bridge. So you could actually, only half the window was covered, and underneath you could see in. And one night, I as a kid, I don't know if I was Ava's age or a bit older, or I was definitely talking probably 4 or 5. And I opened my eyes, and I saw these beings of light. I can still see them to this day. I've never spoken about this on podcasts before. And there were 3 or 4 of them, and they were female, and they were these angelic, beautiful faces. And they were coming up to the window, waving to me. And I would wave back.
You're seeing fairies, mate.
I didn't want to say fairies, mate. But I saw these beings, and they were glowing, and I was like, I remember just seeing it, just witnessing it. And there was a connection there. And I'll never forget getting up the next morning, walking down into the kitchen. And I said that as a kid. My dad was there, my sister was sitting on a stool. And I said, Daddy, I saw fairies. And he went, did you now? What do you want for breakfast? That's as far as the conversation went. And then it sat with me ever since. So that was the first time I contemplated. So even going into my teens, like it was always there. It's like, shit, was that? Wow, So it was very real. And I had one psychedelic experience I've mentioned a couple of times when I was about 14 or 15, hanging out with older kids, not knowing what I'm doing. I had too many mushrooms. But that didn't feel mystical to me. That just felt terrifying. Yeah. And that actually stopped me from taking anything.
Yeah.
Like it's just like, no, that's ridiculous. Time out. And then it wasn't until a lot later, leaning into meditation and practicing, I realized I had to lean into my own fears and to really start something. It was like I could feel your heart and soul wanting to come forward. And there'd been times in my life where I suppressed that. And I knew I had enough experience in me to go, I got to listen to this, even though every part of my body is going, don't do this. I chose to honor what was wanting to come through, which is, I think, the greatest challenge is for us all, isn't it? When things arise, because we're so familiar with the known. And that's when I lent into my first ayahuasca experience, which was very mystical. I remember being in a room of about 23 people, and I was only one of the few that had this very mystical, open experience. And I believe it happened because I fully surrendered. I actually just wanted to get through it. I had no desire to travel the universe or go around or to do anything. It was just like, I just want to fucking get over this fear of mine and do it. And I'll never forget fully committing. Like I just knew I'm all in. I'm 100% in. And if I was prepared to die that night, like that's how I felt. And I just gave up, and I fully gave up. And it was funny because they'd come around and check me because I didn't move a muscle the whole 6-7 hours. I just laid there like in Shavasana the whole time. Didn't get up, didn't spew, didn't pee, didn't nothing. And I remember, I can't remember, Rod, I think his name was, and he said, "You all right, mate? Yeah.
Are you alive?"
Yeah. and then I went back into it. And that was an extremely mystical experience for me. And I had a tour of the universe.
Wow.
And it showed me, it's really hard to, like you say, put into words, but I remember seeing the entire universe, and the universe would appear, we'd go through, and then it would show me myself, and then I would like go kaleidoscope like, and it was gold. It was like a light body thing, and then I would evaporate and become everything again, and then it would bring me back and put me back together. But it took me through these emotions. It showed me the darkness of humanity, and then it showed me the light, and it was really trying to show the wholeness and how everything serves us to have our experiences. There is no right or wrong. We just put the judgments to it. And I came out of that just like, wow. And I've only ever done one. I've never felt called to go back.
Yeah.
And that opened something in there. And then from there, you know, things started to accelerate then.
No, I think it's like that, isn't it? When you start to open into that expanse and you get that different reference point, then it starts to trickle into your life. And it's important then to have that time to integrate.
Yeah.
It's very, very easy to chase the experience.
Oh, totally right.
But it's like, you know, it's what does that experience then inform your everyday life? How does it inform your everyday life?
Well, so we're not running away from the very things we need to heal.
That's
right.
Yeah.
And the other thing I want to mention, because we've spoken a fair bit about shamanic experiences and exploring things, for me, it was just a catalyst, and I don't know how necessary it is, and I don't think people should feel obliged that they have to go in that direction to lean into this work. You know, I think it's what you feel called to do. You know, I've only done one, and I've had more profound experiences just from meditation since. And I believe in my heart that I would still be here having this experience, even if it wasn't for the shamanic journey. The shamanic journey was right for me because I felt I wanted to overcome the fear that I had with psychedelics. So that's why it was so healing for me in that moment in time. So that was right for me at that point. So I just want to mention that because, yeah, you know, it's using breath, sound, meditation, collective group energy, group healings. You know, through the group healings, we do some of the experiences people had. I mean, I was talking to one gentleman after our last May retreat. And through the group healing, he had a mystical experience because I remember walking up to him and seeing him like, you know, his life was changed forever. And I asked him later, can you explain? And he was embarrassed to at first because it's so beyond his known. But he spoke about, he felt all his ancestors coming in and he saw their hands and they all come in and they were all sending him love through his heart. And he said it was just... And then he was with the universe and with his ancestors, and
wow,
it was all together. So, like, how can that not
change your life?
Change your life.
Yeah, no.
And there's nothing to fear either. That's the thing.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, and I think as you're talking, a few things come to mind. Is that we're, you know, regardless of if you're working with medicines, with different healers, whatever the modality is, if you're guiding yourself or if you come into whatever, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, you're there. And it's like, that's what I always am confronted with and always find that wherever I go, sometimes I'm trying to find something far greater, something more. And no matter how much I get expanded in consciousness or the depth of insight or the depth of the experience that I have, I'm there, and my consciousness is in flow with what is there, with the divine. It is divine, and it is. You know what I'm trying to say?
I do.
It's like,
but it's about being present.
That's it, and then learning how to then not only being present, but being in command of my presence. Yeah. And then, you know, you talk about sometimes it's dark, sometimes it's light. There's all these different things that happen. You're in the expanse of all it is, and you come back down into sadness, perhaps, or what. It's like, well, in many of the journeys I've been on, I find that, well, I'm navigating that. No matter where I put my attention is and where that experience then unfolds. And it's like, that to me is what it's all about, is how do I take greater command and be more empowered in my life and take command of the consciousness that is available to us, that is what we are. Do you know what I mean?
Totally. It's like tapping into the reservoir of riches in any given moment to allow us to experience our life and to be more appreciative in these moments. Yeah. And then you could, whether whatever kind of journey you're doing, is bringing that self there. It's like bringing your best self almost to the moments. Or your true self, I should say. Best means like I've got to be a certain way, but like I've been contemplating this because this is our 17th retreat. We're in Portugal. Like, it's mind blowing.
Did you tell them we're in Portugal?
Yeah. And the thing is, it's like, it's easy to get caught up in logistics and people and we have, right? And I always think about that life is a series of small choices, moment by moment by moment by moment by moment. But the challenge is we're running unconsciously most of the time, and we're running unconsciously to how we've conditioned our homeostasis to be. And then we keep receiving reality equal to how we're thinking and feeling in these moments. And then that narrows the lens, and we're missing moments. And I'm always trying to come back, soak it up, enjoy. Wow. Like we've got, you know, a retreat full of people coming, and we're going to have the most incredible experience. And one thing I want to say as well is that the collective group energy, when you bring people together, it heightens the experience tenfold. And that's what's beautiful. And when you start to show people how to hold space lovingly from their hearts and create a sacred, safe place for people to start to surrender into this, you know, it feels like sometimes get into a mystical experience can feel like this. We got to get blunt instruments out and, you know, wade our way there. But no, it can be a very gentle, surrendering, nurturing, and expansive experience, you know, like, and it's incredible. So that's what I think about all the time, and having these experiences continually to help remind me of what really matters, what really doesn't matter, what I catch myself complaining about, all those things, and to actually appreciate everything that I have. My daughter was driving me crazy yesterday. There's moments where I was just like, God, I just need a break. And then I catch myself and I just give her the biggest hug, and knowing like how precious is this moment. She's 3 years old, and she's going to be a teenager not wanting to bar me when I click my fingers next
week.
Yeah. You know, so it's beautiful. And I know I continue to evolve and become a better human being because of them, those experiences and this work, and you want to share it with others. Hence why we do a podcast, and we want to invite people to come along. Don't be scared. Like, come and experience something. If I had to put money on it, you will have quite a defining experience through the retreats, and potentially change the trajectory of your life in a positive way. You know, it's like, if not when. I don't know about you, but I don't want to look back on the end of my life thinking ifs, buts, and maybes. That's for sure. Yeah. Is there anything else you want to add?
I just think what you're talking to is great, and we're all these. You know, I would say, well, what is important? What is, you know, in the essence of everything? The important thing is to be here, and that we've, as a conscious being, as a spirit, as a soul, we've put a lot of energy, a lot of attention, and a lot of awareness to come into a physical form, into a body in this now moment. And it's like majority of us then are just kind of plodding along, just like barely moving anywhere. You know, some people don't even leave their hometown, or like have experiences outside of their living room.
Yeah,
like,
Netflix.
Right? And it's all just in that box. And it's like, well, you're a divine being here intentionally as a part of the whole that's wanting to express fully into this world. And that's what's the most important, is to be here. And that consciousness, that expansive all we are, is outside of time and space. And that the anchoring into time and space is you. And that you then, that's your mission, that's your purpose, is to allow that consciousness to come through in its unique way, fully into this now moment. And what you were alluding to is like, that's what all this is, like training to be here.
Yeah.
It's training to be present. And in that presence, then the wisdom unfolds and reveals. And it's like, wow, why don't we all running into retreats? And
I honestly don't know. I might be biased, but I'm like, wow, this should be on the curriculum.
100%.
Without a doubt. And pretty much everyone that's come through would agree by the end of it.
Yeah, 99.9%.
Yeah.
There's that one person.
There's always one. That don't want to change. Then that's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think because you talked about seeing the fairies as a little boy and all that, and like that just sparked so many different things of my journey and sitting on the roof and calling aliens to come and I used to do that, mate. Like, I'd drift off to sleep on the roof and my mom would always think that I'd roll off, but was it a dream? Was it an experience seeing lights in the sky and this and that? And like all kinds of weird stuff happened and, street lights moving and little shadows. The list can go on. But within all of that, it was like, I think because I had those experiences back then, and then it was like something that filled me up. It was exciting. And I was a very imaginative, very creative boy. And it was like that creativity and imagination is something that I've adhered to and held on to as I've moved through my life. And it's served me well because that is the bridge then for our consciousness to understand that divine essence into this limited mind. And as you were talking, I kind of made a joke, are you seeing fairies, mate? And it's like, your dad discredited too. He's like, what do you want for breakfast or whatever? It's like, don't discredit your imagination.
Totally.
It's within the imagination that we start to gain access to it.
Oh, 1,000%. What we've created wouldn't be here without our imagination. And leaning into potential and not allowing our mind to limit what's possible. And that's exciting because it is like every day, like, wow, what's possible?
Yeah.
And so, not only are we filling our own hearts and cups because we've been willing to lean into that creativity and that imaginative side of things, we get to support other people through their journey and ideally contribute in the ripple effect to make the world a better place.
That's right.
And I still pinch myself and I think like, wow.
Well, it's just starting.
Absolutely.
But as you're talking too, I remember I was a kid, I went to Disney World.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And it was, I don't know when the what's it called? The not Disney World, but there was the extension, the Epoch Center or something.
Oh yeah, yeah. I went there once.
That thing, right?
Yeah.
With the big dome, right?
Yeah.
Ball.
Yeah.
Anyway, there was this little exhibit that was this little dragon came, and it was called Figment was the name of this dragon, and it was going into your imagination.
Yeah, good name.
Yeah. Figment was But it really resonated with me. It was just this really imaginative ride and really fun. And from that day on, I wanted to be an engineer at Disney, right? And they didn't call themselves engineers. They called themselves Imagineers. So you want to go be an Imagineer at Disney if you want to work for them, right? And so as you're talking, I was like, well, we all should be Imagineers. We should be Imagineers of our lives and start engineering from our imagination that which inspires us.
Yeah.
So
I love it.
Yeah.
Love it. I think we should wrap up the podcast. 41. It just clicked past me. Beautiful. Hopefully this conversation has encouraged you to explore more. And come join us. We hope to meet you somewhere, sometime, in some country. You never know. We're contemplating, we got November retreat coming up. August is sold out. They're selling out about 3 months in advance now, so we recommend. And we haven't promoted November yet, so
not probably.
That's about now. No, because we've just opened our membership coaching. So we actually hold space for people that want to integrate it in at their own pace. So if you want to work with us directly, you can come and check that out as well. The Inner Self Mastery. So that's up and running. We got retreats in November and January in Gaimea, which is just outside the Gold Coast. And here, I was going to say here in Australia, but we're here in Portugal. And then we're mapping out 2024 as well, but that'll probably be more overseas. So come join us, and we'll be doing one-day workshops up and down the coast.
That's right. We got half a dozen left in the year.
Yeah, Melbourne, Geelong. We are coming to Canberra, Wollongong, or Sorul, I should say.
Going to Adelaide, mate.
We're going to Adelaide. Wow. Never been to Adelaide. Yes, I have, actually. Tell a lie. Once. Long time ago. Backpacker. Anyway.
Yeah, we should definitely wrap up before the ants take over the
system. Much love. And hope to meet you somewhere, sometime in the future. Cool.